Have you ever wondered why some people walk into a room and instantly command respect, while others seem invisible no matter how hard they try? Respect is not given freely. It is earned in small moments, and it can be destroyed just as quickly. One careless action, one repeated mistake in public, can strip away the influence you've worked so hard to build. And here's the truth most people don't realize: the world is always watching. Every word you say, every gesture you make, every choice in how you present yourself becomes a silent announcement of who you are and what you stand for. Think about the people you admire most. It's not their titles or their money that make you look up to them. It's how they carry themselves, how they handle pressure, how they treat others when no one is keeping score. That is respect. And yet, so many destroy it without even knowing, trapped in habits that seem harmless, but slowly erode trust, credibility, and dignity. What may feel like a small slip of the tongue, a careless laugh, or an attempt to impress others can actually leave scars that people remember far longer than you think. This is why you must be careful, because respect is fragile. Once cracked, it is hard to repair. But here's the empowering part. When you become aware of the mistakes that break it, you unlock the power to rise above them. You gain control over the image you project, and you protect your reputation like it's treasure, because it is. Your respect is your currency in life. It determines whether people listen to you, trust you, or dismiss you as noise. The difference between being respected and being ignored doesn't come down to luck. It comes down to choices. And those choices begin with awareness. You cannot change what you refuse to see. You cannot grow if you protect habits that quietly destroy your standing in the eyes of others. But the moment you decide to face the truth, you open the door to transformation. You begin to walk differently, talk differently, live differently. So let me ask you again, do you want to be someone whose presence demands attention, whose words carry weight, whose name inspires trust? Or do you want to be the person people smile at politely but never truly respect? The answer lies in what you do next. In this journey, we are going to uncover the most common mistakes people make in public that quietly destroy their respect. These are not random guesses. They are patterns observed in human behavior, mistakes repeated across generations, proven to weaken your influence and damage your reputation. But here's the gift. Once you know them, you can avoid them. Once you understand them, you can replace them with habits that draw people toward you, that make your character unshakable, that set you apart in a noisy world. By the time you finish this, you will see yourself differently. You will see your behavior through new eyes, and you will be equipped with tools to ensure that respect is not just something you hope for, it's something you command. So stay with me, because every second you give to this, you are not just learning about mistakes. You are reclaiming your power, shaping your future, and building the unshakable respect that can change your life forever. Respect begins to crumble the moment you forget the weight of your words. The first mistake that silently destroys it is speaking without discipline. Every time you interrupt, overshare, or let your emotions spill recklessly in public, people register it. They may not confront you directly, but inside they make a judgment. They decide whether you are someone they can trust with their attention, their confidence, or their loyalty. And once doubt enters their mind, respect slips away piece by piece. Think about it. When someone talks endlessly just to fill silence, when they turn every conversation into a stage for their ego, when they blurt out what should have been kept private, do you admire them? Or do you feel a subtle urge to pull back, to withhold trust, to guard your energy? That is the quiet price of careless speech. Words are like currency, and when you spend them without thought, you devalue yourself in the eyes of everyone listening. Self-control in speech is one of the strongest signals of maturity. It shows restraint, intelligence, and confidence. You don't need to speak over others to prove your worth. You don't need to reveal every detail to be noticed. True strength is felt when you know what to say, when to say it, and when silence carries more weight than noise. When you master this, people lean in when you speak, because they know your words will matter. Psychologists have long studied how credibility is built, and one truth stands out: people respect those who create clarity, not chaos. Your words can either elevate your presence or sabotage it. They can either make you someone people look up to or someone they dismiss as careless. And the more often you cross that line without realizing it, the harder it becomes to repair the damage. This is why the most respected individuals choose their words with intention. They are not perfect, but they pause before speaking. They weigh the impact before reacting. They understand that the right silence is sometimes more powerful than the wrong speech. And when they do speak, their message cuts through noise like a blade, leaving an impression that lasts long after the conversation ends. If you want to protect your respect, begin here. Train yourself to listen more than you speak. Allow silence to teach you patience. Speak with purpose, not just to be heard, because every unnecessary word, every careless outburst, every ego-driven attempt to dominate a conversation is a public withdrawal from your respect account. And when the balance runs low, people notice. The reward for discipline is powerful. When you master your tongue, people associate you with wisdom. They seek your input instead of avoiding it. They remember your voice not for its volume, but for its value. You become someone whose words are not just sounds, but signals, guiding, shaping, influencing. That is the kind of respect that cannot be faked. So hold your words like fire. They can warm or they can burn. They can build your reputation or they can reduce it to ashes. Every time you speak, you reveal who you are, and every time you stay in control, you build a foundation of respect so strong that no careless mistake can break it. Another mistake that destroys respect is allowing your body to betray you in public. Long before your words are processed, your posture, your expressions, your movements are speaking for you. People form judgments in seconds, and those judgments are rarely based on logic. They are instinctive, emotional, and rooted in what they see. If your shoulders are slouched, if your eyes avoid contact, if your stance screams insecurity or aggression, the respect you hope to command slips away before you ever open your mouth. Think of how powerful presence feels when someone walks in with quiet confidence. They don't need to announce themselves. Their posture communicates strength. Their eye contact says they are grounded, unafraid, and alert. Their movements are steady, not frantic, not desperate for approval. This is respect built without words. This is credibility earned before a single sentence leaves their lips. Yet too many people underestimate this. They let nervous habits, restless movements, or weak posture tell a story of doubt. They shrink themselves physically, hoping not to be noticed, or they overcompensate with exaggerated gestures that feel forced. Both extremes communicate the same message, a lack of inner control. And people respect what feels stable, not what feels unstable. Psychology proves this. Nonverbal cues account for the majority of how others perceive your authority and confidence. Research shows that people decide whether to trust or follow you largely by what they see, not just what they hear. If your body language contradicts your words lose power. Respect evaporates in the space between intention and perception. But here's the empowering truth. Your body is trainable. You can choose how you show up. You can correct your posture, slow your movements, and align your gestures with confidence. You can look people in the eyes, not with aggression, but with calm certainty. You can stand tall, breathe deeply, and let your presence signal strength before you ever speak. This is not about pretending. It is about becoming. When you carry yourself with dignity, you don't just appear confident, you feel confident. And when you feel it, others reflect it back to you in the form of respect. Every time you let your body collapse into weakness, you give others permission to overlook you. But every time you stand with composure, you remind them you are someone worth noticing. The smallest shifts make the largest impact. Straighten your back, lower your shoulders, lift your chin, anchor yourself in stillness. These choices send a silent but undeniable message. You value yourself, and so should they. Respect is not demanded, it is inspired. And inspiration often begins with what cannot be said in words. The energy you carry is felt before it is understood. It shapes how people treat you, how they respond to you, how they remember you. If you want to be seen as strong, reliable, and unshakable, let your body mirror that truth. Let it be the unspoken language that builds trust and admiration wherever you go. Your body is always telling a story. Make sure it is telling the story of someone who deserves respect. Respect is also shattered when you let negativity spill into the way you treat others. Few things damage your image faster than being seen as someone who belittles, mocks, or dismisses people in public. Every eye is watching how you handle those with less power than you. The way you treat a server, a colleague, a stranger on the street becomes a mirror of your character. And if you choose cruelty, sarcasm, or arrogance, the reflection is one that people never forget. Deep down, everyone wants to feel valued. Respect flows toward those who give it freely. When you show kindness without expecting anything in return, when you speak with courtesy even under stress, people admire you. They see strength, not weakness. They see a person in control of their emotions, not ruled by them. But when you lash out, when you let frustration twist into disrespect, you signal to the world that your power is fragile, that your respect for others is conditional, and conditional respect never earns unconditional trust. Psychology tells us that humans are wired for reciprocity. How you treat others shapes how they treat you, and not just them, but everyone observing. Public disrespect creates lasting impressions. It makes people wonder how you will speak about them when they're not around. It makes them question whether you can be trusted in private if this is how you act in plain sight. And once suspicion takes root, respect begins to die. But here's the paradox. People mistake kindness for weakness. They think dominance earns admiration. In truth, dominance without dignity breeds fear, not respect. Fear may control people for a moment, but it never inspires loyalty. Real respect is born from consistent fairness, from the ability to hold strength without cruelty, from the choice to treat every human as worthy of dignity. That choice is power. That choice separates leaders from pretenders. When you refuse to belittle others, even when you could, you elevate yourself. You prove that your character is not dependent on the status of those around you. You show that respect is not something you demand, but something you live. People remember that. They remember how you made them feel. And those feelings build your legacy far louder than your achievements ever could. So ask yourself, when you are tired, stressed, or frustrated, do you still show respect? Do you still hold yourself to the standard of kindness? Or do you let the worst parts of you leak out? The answer to that question determines how others see you. Because anyone can look composed when life is easy, but only the truly respected remain composed when tested. Respect requires discipline. It requires awareness that every interaction counts. The smallest moments often echo the loudest in people's minds. A kind word spoken when no one expected it. A calm response when anger would have been easy. A gesture of dignity when it could have been ignored. These moments build the image of someone whose respect cannot be questioned. If you want to be admired, guard the way you treat others as fiercely as you guard your reputation. Because they are one and the same. The world may not remember every success you achieve, but it will never forget whether you lifted people up or tore them down. Another mistake that strips away respect is the inability to control your emotions in public. Anger, frustration, jealousy, and insecurity are natural human feelings. But when they spill out unchecked, they damage the way people perceive you. Every outburst, every visible loss of composure, every display of raw emotion without discipline makes others question your stability. And people cannot respect what feels unstable. Think about the quiet power of those who remain calm under pressure. When tension rises and everyone else loses their balance, the person who holds their ground becomes magnetic. Their calm presence reassures, inspires, and commands attention. It's not that they feel nothing. It's that they have mastered the art of self-control. They understand that emotions are energy, and energy must be directed, not unleashed carelessly. Psychologists know this as emotional regulation, and it is one of the strongest indicators of maturity and leadership. The world respects those who manage themselves. When you allow anger to explode, when jealousy seeps into your words, when fear shapes your actions, you hand over your power to emotions that are fleeting. You let the temporary destroy the permanent. But when you regulate, when you choose calm over chaos, you show that you are bigger than the moment. That is the foundation of deep respect. People may forgive a mistake, but they rarely forget a public meltdown. The memory lingers. It changes how they view your reliability. They wonder if you can be trusted in moments of real crisis. They wonder if your decisions are rooted in wisdom or in impulse. Respect fades quickly when people see you as someone who cannot manage themselves. But the opposite is equally true. When you stay composed, even when provoked, you create an aura of strength. You prove that no one has the power to pull you out of alignment. You prove that your dignity is not negotiable, and that is magnetic. People lean toward those who radiate stability because stability feels safe. Respect thrives in the presence of safety. This does not mean suppressing emotions. It means mastering them. It means feeling anger but choosing to respond with clarity, feeling fear but stepping forward with courage, feeling hurt but refusing to lash out in bitterness. This is the kind of mastery that inspires others because it is rare. Most people are ruled by impulse. Few rise above it. Those who do earn respect that lasts. Every public moment is a test, not of whether you can avoid emotions, but of whether you can guide them. Each time you choose composure, you strengthen the image of yourself in the minds of others. Each time you lose it, you weaken it. Respect is built in the split second between reaction and response. If you want to be admired, protect that space. Pause before you speak. Breathe before you react. Remind yourself that dignity is worth more than the temporary relief of an outburst. The strongest person in the room is never the loudest, never the one who throws their emotions around like weapons. The strongest is the one who stands calm in the storm, unshaken, unwavering, unbroken. That is the person people respect. Respect also erodes when you make promises you don't keep. Every time you commit to something and fail to follow through, you weaken the trust people place in you. And without trust, respect cannot survive. Words mean little when actions do not match them. The moment people sense that your commitments are flexible, that your word is not solid, they begin to treat you with caution. They may still smile, still nod, still listen politely, but deep down, they stop believing. Trust is built on consistency, not on grand gestures, not on dramatic declarations, but on the quiet, steady act of doing what you said you would do. It may feel small to cancel plans, to delay a task, to excuse yourself from a promise, but in the eyes of others, it signals something much larger. It signals unreliability. And reliability is the backbone of respect. Without it, even the most charismatic words eventually collapse. Psychologists call this the credibility gap, the distance between what people say and what they actually do. When the gap is wide, respect disappears. When it is narrow, respect grows. People admire those they can count on, those whose presence feels dependable, those who deliver not once, but repeatedly until dependability becomes their identity. The challenge is that excuses are easy. Life will always hand you reasons to step back, to delay, to justify why a commitment wasn't honored. But respect doesn't grow from excuses. It grows from accountability. It grows when you take responsibility, when you own your word, when you show up even when it's inconvenient. Each time you do, you carve your reputation deeper into the minds of others. Here is someone who can be trusted. Think about the opposite. When promises are broken often, when commitments are shallow, when actions and words rarely align, what remains? Doubt, skepticism, a subtle distancing. People stop relying on you. They stop opening doors for you. They stop seeing you as someone worthy of respect because respect demands reliability. Without it, you are just noise in a world already filled with empty words. But when your word is solid, you become rare. You become the person others look to when things must get done. You become the anchor in an environment where most drift. And anchors are respected because they provide stability in a world of uncertainty. This does not require perfection. It requires integrity. When you cannot keep a promise, admit it with honesty. When you fail, acknowledge it openly and take steps to repair the trust. People do not demand flawlessness. They demand authenticity. They demand proof that your word matters to you as much as it matters to them. Every promise you make is a test of character. Every follow-through strengthens the invisible thread of respect, and every broken word weakens it. If you want to command respect, let your actions echo louder than your promises. Let people know that when you commit, it means something. Let your word become unshakable so that even before you act, people already trust that you will. That is the mark of a respected life. Respect fades quickly when you make everything about yourself. Constantly turning conversations back to your achievements, your struggles, your opinions creates an invisible barrier between you and others. People may tolerate it for a while, but deep down, they pull away. Because respect is not built by demanding attention, it is built by giving it. When every moment is centered on you, others feel unseen, unheard, and undervalued. And the truth is simple. If people don't feel valued in your presence, they will never truly respect you. There is power in humility, not the false kind that pretends to be small, but the genuine kind that recognizes the worth of others. When you listen without interruption, when you ask questions with curiosity, when you show interest in someone else's story, you give a gift far greater than your words. You give validation. You send the message that their presence matters, that their experiences are important. This is how you plant the seeds of respect in the hearts of others. Psychology reveals that one of the deepest human desires is to feel significant. People long to be noticed, to be acknowledged, to be valued. When you deny them this by making every interaction a showcase of yourself, you strip away their dignity. And when dignity is denied, respect is withdrawn. But when you give significance freely, when you let others shine, their respect for you multiplies. This is why the most respected leaders are not the ones who demand the spotlight, but the ones who share it. They do not diminish others to elevate themselves. Instead, they elevate others, and in doing so, they rise higher in the minds of everyone around them. They understand a timeless truth. Respect grows not by taking, but by giving. Making yourself the constant center is often a sign of insecurity. It reveals a hunger for validation, a need to prove worth through attention. But true worth does not shout. It does not beg to be seen. It stands steady, confident in silence, secure in listening. People respect those who don't need to dominate every moment because that restraint signals strength. It says, I know who I am and I don't need constant affirmation to prove it. The shift is simple but powerful. Speak less about yourself and more about others. Resist the urge to turn every story into your story. Offer your ear more often than your mouth. Let people feel your attention as a gift, not a performance. When you do, you build trust, and trust is the soil where respect grows strongest. Every conversation is an opportunity to either feed your ego or strengthen your respect. Choose wisely, because the more you feed ego, the hungrier it becomes and the more respect it costs you. But the more you invest in others, the more respect flows back to you naturally, without force, without demand. Respect does not thrive in the presence of self-absorption. It thrives where humility, presence, and genuine care exist. Be the person who sees others deeply. Be the person who listens with intent. Be the person who leaves people feeling valued every time they walk away. When you do, you won't need to ask for respect. It will be given to you freely because you've given it first. Respect is also destroyed when you allow arrogance to replace confidence. Confidence attracts, arrogance repels. The difference is subtle but powerful. Confidence says, I believe in myself. Arrogance says, I am above you. One builds bridges, the other builds walls. And every wall you create between yourself and others is another layer of distance between you and their respect. People can sense arrogance instantly. It shows in the tone of your voice, the way you dismiss ideas, the way you carry yourself as if you are untouchable. You may think it signals strength, but in reality, it reveals fragility. Arrogance is a mask for insecurity, a performance designed to cover the fear of not being enough. The tragedy is that while you wear that mask, you block the very thing you want most: genuine respect. True confidence does not need to shout. It does not need to diminish others to prove worth. It stands firm in humility, secure enough to admit mistakes, open enough to learn, strong enough to listen. This is why people respect confidence but recoil from arrogance. Confidence feels inspiring. Arrogance feels suffocating. Psychologists explain this through the principle of social perception. We are drawn to those who appear competent yet approachable. When someone appears competent but cold, we may admire their skills, but we do not respect their character. Respect is not just about ability. It is about humanity. Arrogance strips away humanity, leaving only the hollow shell of superiority. The most respected individuals carry a balance. They know their value, but never weaponize it. They hold their head high, but keep their hand extended. They celebrate their achievements, but also celebrate the successes of others. They radiate strength without making others feel small. That is the difference between commanding respect and demanding it. When arrogance takes over, even your victories work against you. People begin to secretly hope for your failure because your success feels like a threat, not an inspiration. But when confidence guides you, your success lifts others and they root for you rather than against you. That is the power of walking in true confidence. The test is simple. How do people feel after being around you? Do they feel encouraged, valued, inspired, or do they feel belittled, dismissed, unseen? Arrogance leaves people drained. Confidence leaves them strengthened. And the way you make people feel is the way they will decide whether or not to respect you. You don't need arrogance to be powerful. You need authenticity. You need the courage to stand firm without pushing others down. You need the wisdom to know that respect is never won by superiority, but by integrity. The greatest strength is not in showing others you are better. It is in showing them that they too have value. Respect grows in humility. It grows in quiet strength, in steady confidence, in the balance of believing in yourself without placing yourself above others. Drop the mask of arrogance. Stand in true confidence and watch as people not only acknowledge your strength, but respect it deeply because it is real. Respect also dissolves when you show a lack of discipline in the way you present yourself. People notice how you carry yourself, how you care for your appearance, how much attention you give to the details that silently speak about your standards. This isn't about expensive clothes or flashy displays. It's about the message your presence communicates before you even say a word. Neglect, carelessness, and inconsistency all signal to others that you don't value yourself. And if you don't value yourself, why should they value you? Your appearance is not vanity, it is communication. It tells the world whether you are intentional or careless, whether you respect yourself enough to show up with dignity, or whether you dismiss the importance of first impressions. Every wrinkle ignored, every sloppy gesture, every sign of neglect plants doubt in people's minds. It tells them you may not be reliable, you may not be serious, you may not deserve the respect you desire. Psychologists call this impression formation. The rapid judgment people make in seconds. Once formed, these judgments are stubborn. They stick, they shape the way people hear your words and interpret your actions. You may have wisdom, talent, or brilliance inside, but if the outside signals indifference, people hesitate to trust the inside. Respect is not just about what you say, it's about the whole picture you present. This is not about perfection, it's about discipline. It is about standing tall, maintaining cleanliness, paying attention to the small details that show you care. It is about walking into every situation as though it matters, because it does. Every interaction could be the one that defines how someone remembers you forever. When you neglect your presentation, you gamble with respect. When you master it, you protect it. The truth is that discipline in appearance reflects discipline in character. People sense it. They equate the way you present yourself with the way you handle responsibilities, challenges, and commitments. A person who cannot manage themselves rarely earns the trust to manage greater things. But a person who shows self-respect through discipline communicates strength, reliability, and control. And respect always follows control. Ask yourself what your presence says before you speak. Does it tell the world you take yourself seriously? Does it show others you care about the impression you leave? Or does it send signals of apathy, disorganization, and weakness? The answers are not just about clothing or grooming. They're about self-respect. And self-respect is the foundation of external respect. When you value yourself, others mirror it. When you neglect yourself, others mirror that too. Respect is energy reflected back to you. If you want others to see you as strong, disciplined, and worthy of admiration, let every part of your presence reinforce that truth. The way you show up is not a small detail. It is the stage upon which your character is judged. Do not give people reasons to doubt your seriousness. Do not give them reasons to question your discipline. Respect yourself enough to present yourself with strength, and watch as the world responds with the respect you deserve. Respect weakens every time you complain in public. Constant negativity, constant pointing out of flaws, constant dwelling on problems makes you appear powerless. It sends the message that you are controlled by circumstances instead of controlling them. People may sympathize once or twice, but repeated complaints drain energy, create discomfort, and destroy the image of strength that respect depends on. No one admires the person who always finds something wrong. They admire the one who finds a way forward. Complaining feels harmless, but it quietly reshapes how people perceive you. Every sigh, every negative comment, every exaggerated frustration paints you as someone who cannot handle pressure. Instead of inspiring confidence, it plants doubt. People begin to wonder if you can manage responsibility when you cannot even manage your outlook. Respect requires resilience, and resilience cannot live in the shadow of constant complaint. Psychology explains this through the concept of emotional contagion. Your attitude spreads. When you complain, you transfer frustration to those around you. It lowers morale, weakens optimism, and leaves a negative impression tied to your presence. Over time, people begin to avoid you, not because of who you are, but because of the energy you bring. Respect cannot grow in the presence of energy that drains rather than uplifts. Strength is revealed not when life is easy, but when life is hard. The person who holds composure in difficulty, who refuses to feed negativity, who speaks with solutions instead of complaints, this is the person people respect. They show that hardship does not define them. They show that even in struggle, they choose strength over weakness. That choice inspires, and inspiration is the fuel of respect. This does not mean ignoring problems. It means addressing them with clarity instead of complaint. It means focusing on what can be done rather than endlessly repeating what is wrong. People respect problem solvers, not problem feeders. They respect those who can acknowledge challenges without becoming consumed by them. They respect those who carry hope even in heavy moments. The temptation to complain is strong, but every time you resist it, you build resilience. Every time you speak strength instead of weakness, you build credibility. Every time you choose solutions over complaints, you show maturity. And maturity is the foundation of respect. Ask yourself, when others hear you speak, do they feel heavier or lighter? Do they walk away drained, or do they walk away inspired? The answer to that question reveals whether your words are building your respect or tearing it down. Respect demands control over your outlook. It demands that you become intentional about the energy you release. If you want others to see you as strong, start by refusing to complain. Start by speaking solutions, speaking gratitude, speaking resilience. Let your words lift instead of drain. Complaints may win temporary sympathy, but they lose lasting respect. Strength may be quiet, but it wins loyalty. Be the one who faces challenges without drowning in negativity. Be the one who finds direction when others are lost in despair. That is the person people respect, the one who refuses to complain and chooses instead to lead with strength. Respect also disappears when you fail to listen. Nothing communicates disregard more powerfully than cutting someone off, ignoring their words, or pretending to pay attention while your mind is elsewhere. People remember how you make them feel, and when you make them feel unheard, you strip away their dignity. And when dignity is denied, respect is lost. Listening is not passive, it is an act of strength. It takes discipline to silence your own thoughts, to resist the urge to dominate, to give another person the full weight of your attention. Yet this simple act transforms the way people see you. To listen deeply is to honor someone's humanity. It tells them they matter. It tells them you value more than just your own voice. It tells them you are strong enough not to make everything about yourself. That strength builds respect faster than words ever could. The psychology of connection proves this. People feel closer to those who listen, because being listened to fulfills a basic human need, the need to be understood. When you truly listen, you create safety, you create trust, you create respect in its purest form. On the other hand, when you interrupt, when you dismiss, when you half listen while waiting for your turn to speak, you send a clear message: you are more important than them. That message is the seed of disrespect. Every time you fail to listen, you waste an opportunity to build credibility. You weaken relationships. You create distance. You diminish influence. But every time you choose to listen with focus, you elevate yourself. You become the rare person others feel comfortable opening up to because they know they will not be dismissed. That comfort becomes loyalty. And loyalty is the deepest form of respect. Listening requires more than ears. It requires presence. It requires eye contact, patience, silence. It requires asking questions not to reply, but to understand. Most people hear, but they do not listen. They process words but miss meaning. They nod but do not connect. Respect belongs to those who go deeper, to those who hear not just what is said, but what is felt. Consider how powerful it feels when someone listens to you with full attention. You walk away lighter, stronger, more valued. That feeling lingers. That is the gift you give when you listen to others. And gifts create bonds that words alone can never build. Respect is fragile, but listening protects it. It makes people feel seen in a world where invisibility is common. It makes them feel significant in a world where voices compete to be heard. It makes them feel respected, and in return, they respect you. Ask yourself honestly, do people feel heard when they are with you? Do they feel understood, or do they feel silenced? The answer reveals whether your presence builds respect or erodes it. If you want to be respected, listen. Listen when it is easy, and listen when it is hard. Listen when you agree, and listen when you don't. Listen not to reply, but to connect. Because respect begins where true listening lives.